Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be continuing my Fill the World Create a Sim challenge in Willow Creek. And this is actually the last family in Willow Creek that I have to make. So after this week we will be moving on. The series is not going to stop. We're going to move on to Oasis Springs. But anyways, so this family is the Baxter family. They live in the last remaining empty house in Willow Creek. It's called Oakenstead, and it is in the Sage Estates neighborhood, which is where the Spencer Kim Lewis family lives. I think that's all of their names. There's only 2 houses in this neighborhood, and one of them is empty, and the other one is occupied by the other family. So they live in the empty house. It's the largest, most expensive house in Willow Creek that's empty when you start the game. So I thought that this family would be kind of like an old money, like very, very southern, but like a lot of old money in their family. So first up here is their dad. His name is Rex Baxter. He is an elder, and he retired as a level 10 politician, which makes him a national leader. So that's right, this guy in my mind is basically a former president. So again, lots of old money here, like, you know, lots of tradition, all that sort of thing. So he has a few children. One of his children, which you'll see in a few minutes here, is from a previous relationship, and then his other children are from his current relationship. So he has 10 charisma skill points, 5 gardening skill points, 6 painting skill points, 4 cooking skill points, 3 parenting skill points, and 5 fishing skill points. So a lot of his life has been spent working in politics, so his charisma is very, very high. But he also, as he's retired, has started to pick up some other hobbies, which is why he has a lot of gardening skill points and painting and all of that. But he's not a bad parent necessarily, but he's not necessarily the most active parent either. So his traits are that he is self-assured, he's a bro, and he is also ambitious. And then his traits that he got through his character values that came out in the Sims 4 Parenthood game pack, his 2 traits from that are that he has good manners and he has emotional control. So he is also the type of person who will kind of keep his emotions, you know, in line and not really very expressive, which is, you know, if considering his life in politics and because he comes from a family of, you know, a lot of old money and tradition, that's probably pretty typical. And his aspiration is to have successful lineage. So his most important thing in life is that his kids are just as successful as he was in life, if not more so. So this is his wife. Her name is Jill. She is an adult, so she's a little bit younger than he is. I'd like to think that perhaps she met up with him after his first child was born and maybe had a little bit of a sneaky affair with Jill, and that's why his first wife left him. So because she is a little bit younger. So she's a bit of a gold digger. She is essentially a stay-at-home mom, although she's not a great mom either. She has 10 piano skill points, 8 charisma skill points, 3 cooking skill points, 2 mixology skill points, 4 parenting skill points, and 6 fitness skill points. So she's a little, she's kind of conceited. She doesn't really care so much about other people. So she is very into developing herself. So that's why she has, you know, 8 charisma skill points and mixology skill points and fitness skill points, because those are all things that she does to benefit herself. She also is from what I would imagine to be kind of like a very traditional old money type of family, where historically a lot of times women were kind of pushed to develop a ladylike skill, such as, you know, sewing or playing the piano, so that they could be seen as some sort of asset to their future husbands down the road. So that's why she has 10 piano skill points. She also has developed 8 charisma skill points, because if her husband was the former national leader, that meant that she at one point was first lady. So she's also had to throw a lot of fancy parties and rub elbows with people and hobnob. So that's sort of, her thing. Again, she doesn't have a ton of parenting skill points because she's not a great mom. She's not terrible, and she actually has a pretty good relationship with several of her own biological children, but she's not a warm, fuzzy person. Her 3 traits are that she is a snob, she's mean, and she's jealous. So she's, not exactly what I would call a nice person. And her 2 traits that she has from her character values from the Parenthood game pack are she is insensitive and she has emotional control. So once again, she doesn't have the manners that Rex does, but she does have the ability to not express what she's really feeling at all times, especially if it's to benefit herself or perhaps her husband. But at the same time, she also is not very open-minded or considerate of other people's feelings, which is why she's insensitive. And her aspiration is to be fabulously wealthy, which, considering the life that she is leading, I would argue that that's pretty easily attainable for her. So if you've noticed on her, I gave her dark brown eyebrows but blonde hair, so in my mind, I sort of pictured that she is actually a natural brunette and has decided to go blonde to appear more feminine and delicate and attractive. Not saying that people with brown hair aren't those things, because I have brown hair. But in her mind, I could see her wanting to be blonde. She's very into staying young. She wants to look well put together, but she also wants to appear like she did back when she and Rex first met when she was a little bit younger. So she has a little bit of a beauty mark by her upper lip, and I like to also think that that was something that she puts on every day when she does her makeup. So she always has a full face of makeup. She's always well put together. Her hair is almost always up, I believe. I think there's maybe one outfit. It might be her sleep outfit where she has it down. I'm not sure. I don't remember exactly. But when I was creating her, I thought she is the type of person who, even on a day where, things are bad and she's having a rough time, she will still look very put together, because her most important thing that she can offer people is her physical appearance. So, yes. So Jill is technically Rex's son from his first relationship. She is his stepmother. Now, the interesting thing in The Sims 4 is that they don't recognize step-parent and step-children relationships. They recognize half-siblings, but not step-siblings. So this will also come into play in a little bit. So technically, she is his son's stepmother, although they are just listed as acquaintances. But she does not like him, and he does not like her. But she has 2 biological daughters of her own, and so she has a great relationship with basically everybody else in the family, although as time has gone on, her relationship with her husband has started to fade a little bit, and maybe they're not putting as much effort into staying close as they once did, especially because now he's retired, so, he's just sort of puttering around the house and, painting and fishing and gardening, and he's just doing his hobbies, but he's not doing all of the really, political activism types of things. So because of that, by extension, her life is a little bit less involved than it used to be, and I think there might maybe be a little bit of resentment there, because her whole existence depended on his career. So when that was essentially taken away from her, now she's not really quite sure what to do with herself. And so because of that, they only know how to exist when they're in the public eye. There isn't really an intimacy between her and her husband anymore. I think there was at one point, like when they were younger and they first met perhaps, but now they're both older. I mean, Rex is an elder, so chances are he will probably pass away pretty soon. And yet, she's just not really all into him right now. So, that might be something that could change and develop in the future if they figure out how to work through this kind of rough patch. Because I know in real life that is something that happens when people become empty nesters, that, they survive for their children and then their children leave, and then they're left with nothing. So in this case, their children have not left, but yet there's still not really much of a connection there between Jill and Rex. So this is Rex's son from his first marriage. His name is Clark. He is a young adult, and he is in the tech guru career. He is level 5, which is a project manager. So he does not like his stepmother at all. He is very concerned that when his father inevitably passes away, that she and his stepsisters will end up getting all of his father's money, and he thinks that because he was there first, it should all go to him. So he is very close with his dad, but he really does not get along well with his older stepsister. His younger stepsister, who is only a teenager, he actually does have a very good relationship with her because she's too young to really care about the divvying up of family property and all of that drama. But really everybody else he's just sort of like over. He's very close with his dad though. So Clark has 10 violin skill points, 5 programming skill points, 4 video gaming skill points, 2 charisma skill points, 2 mixology skill points, and 4 fitness skill points. So once again, he is very skilled in the violin, but doesn't really do anything with it professionally. It's just one of those things that, you know, as you grow up in an upper class family, you have to develop some sort of skills. So that was the skill he went with. So he is a bro, he is materialistic, and he's also romantic. But his traits from the character values are that he is argumentative and insensitive. So he is actually a little bit like his stepmother in that regard, but he also is willing to pick a fight with people if he does not get along with them. And he has the party animal aspiration. So he is just all about hanging out with his bros, watching sports on TV, and having a good time. So this is Rex and Jill's oldest daughter. Her name is Ada Baxter Clay. She is married, and she is a young adult. She is in the astronaut career, which I think she might be the first astronaut I've made in this series. I'm pretty sure. So she is a level 4 astronaut. She is a command center lead, and she has 4 logic skill points, 3 fitness skill points, 2 video gaming skill points, 3 handiness skill points, 2 rocket science skill points, and 2 baking skill points. So she is also a genius, she is a geek, and she is good. So she is essentially the polar opposite of Clark. She is not a bro, she is not into hanging out watching sports. Her traits from her character values are that she is responsible, and she is also a mediator. So while he is argumentative, she is a mediator. So very, very different people between her and her stepbrother. And yes, so Ada actually lives in this household with her wife, Lacey, who we'll see in a minute. And her relationship with Lacey is the healthiest relationship between any 2 people in this family. So they purely love each other. There's no agendas. There's no trying to, benefit from the other's careers or, like they have the most healthy, normal, functional relationship you can possibly have in The Sims. So, yes. So her big thing is that she knows that Clark is kind of gunning for all of his dad's money when his dad dies. But Ada's thing is like, well, Ada is also a young adult, so she's actually not that much younger than Clark. So I like to think that perhaps Rex met Jill when Clark was a baby and got pregnant with Ada very quickly. And so that's why they're very close in age. So essentially, Jill did sort of raise Clark as much as she did her own biological children. And Ada thinks that means that her mom is just as entitled to that money and that life of luxury as Clark is. She doesn't always agree with her mom and her attitudes towards things, but she also feels like, Rex is her husband, so she deserves to have that. So her primary interest is to make sure that her mom doesn't get hurt and doesn't, lose out on things and doesn't lose the house. So yes, but other than that, she has a decent relationship with both of her parents. And actually, she gets along well with just about everybody in the family, especially because she is a mediator. The only person that she doesn't like is Clark, for obvious reasons. So, but yes, so she is an astronaut. So in this house, I pictured her and her wife Lacey having the smallest bedroom with the double bed in it. So upstairs there are 4 bedrooms, and the biggest one has like a whole separate living room area in it. So I obviously thought of that one to be Rex and Jill's bedroom. And then there's another very large bedroom with a double bed in it that has a violin in it, and that is Clark's room. And so the smallest room has some of the like science microscope prints on the wall. So I thought that would be appropriate to be Ada and Lacey's room. And then the remaining room with a single bed in it is for Ada's teenage sister, who we'll see here in a couple minutes. So this is Lacey Baxter Clay. So she is also a young adult. She is Ada's wife. And basically, she is living here just to kind of support Ada in her quest to make sure that her mom is okay and is represented fairly and is going to be taken care of down the road. So the interesting thing with Lacey is that she is also a politician. However, she has decided to go with the charity organizer route. So she is a level 5, so that makes her a friendly lobbyist. So she has 5 charisma skill points, 5 cooking skill points, 4 handiness skill points, 3 mischief skill points, and 3 dancing skill points. So she is good, she is a dance machine, and she is neat. So Lacey did not grow up in a wealthy, high society type of family. She probably came from more of like a middle class type of family where, she actually has, I think, the highest cooking skill points out of anybody in this family because, she actually had to do work around the house when she was growing up. And she also has handiness skill points, which Ada also has some handiness, but I sort of assume that her skill points came from on-the-job experience as a young adult and not so much living her day-to-day life while she was growing up. So Lacey is also compassionate and she is responsible. So once again, she is just a good, sweet, caring person. She is very good friends with Ada's younger sister, Sasha, and in all honesty, she gets along pretty okay with most people in the family. She's not great friends with any of them, but she does get along with them. Actually, she is pretty good friends with Jill, so there is that, but everybody else is just like, I'll stay out of your way if you stay out of my way, and I like all of you, but I'm not going to be the person in this family to ruffle feathers or make waves. So, so she and Ada they're just madly in love, and hopefully at some point they could maybe move out together and start a family of their own in their own household. But for the time being, they are just going to live with Ada's mom and dad and her stepbrother and her sister. So, last but not least, we have Sasha. So Sasha is a teenager. She is Jill's daughter. She thinks that Rex is her father. However, he is not. So at some point after Jill and Rex got married, Jill had an affair with somebody else, and that somebody else is actually Sasha's father. However, the only person who knows that is Jill. So Rex thinks that Sasha is his daughter, Sasha thinks that Rex is her dad, and she also thinks that Clark is her stepbrother. So Ada is still her sister, although technically Ada is her half-sister, not a full sister. But yeah, so she thinks that Clark is her half-brother, but in actuality he's not, he's her stepbrother. So she is a high school student. She's not great at school. She has a C So she just doesn't really care so much about school. But she does have 2 painting skill points, 3 guitar skill points, 2 photography skill points, 2 programming skill points, 2 video gaming skill points, and 3 charisma skill points. So she has a wide range of interest, but she's not a very academically minded person. So her traits are that she is romantic, and she is also a music lover. And currently her character values are positive for empathy, manners, and conflict resolution, and negative for emotional control and responsibility. And her current aspiration is to be a musical genius. So the interesting thing with Sasha is that she actually has developed some potentially inappropriate and weird feelings for Clark, who she thinks is her brother, and really, he's not. They are no relation because in The Sims 4, step siblings don't exist. So she actually could, in theory, end up dating him because he's not her brother, but she thinks that he is. So she is kind of wrestling with this, little flirtation that they have going on back and forth. And then there's also the issue of that, Clark is kind of out for her mom and to make sure that her life is, not going to be comfortable once Rex passes away. So there's a little bit of a conflict of interest there, but at this stage, she's just a young, love-struck teenager, and she's not necessarily thinking about all of the long-term consequences. So anyway, so this is the Baxter family. If you would like to download them into your game, I, as always, do not have any CC in my game, so you don't have to worry about downloading CC or anything like that. So you can get this family either through the link in the description below, or you can find them on the Sims 4 gallery under my hashtag Mrs. Tomato 1018 or the hashtag FillTheWorldCAS, or you can just search for my username Mrs. Tomato 1018. So like I said before, next time we'll be moving on to Oasis Springs and creating Sims for that world, which will be fun. I'm so excited. So we'll start off with the smallest neighborhood there. And I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. And thanks so much for watching. Bye!